Hey everyone, today we're going to be repairing my Technics SL-1700MK2 turntable. I've had this turntable for almost 20 years now. This is actually probably one of the first things I bought off eBay. It was back in 98 or 99 when eBay first came out. I bought it, I think even back then the price of it was only 50 bucks, which was pretty much a steal compared to what these things are going for today. When I bought it, it was broken. It needed some attention. And I fixed it, which wasn't very difficult to do. And some of the things I fixed back then I actually need to refix again today. Common problems. I'll go into detail of what those common problems are, but these turntables have various belts and things like this that need attention over time. And based on the age of this specific turntable coming out in the mid to late 80s, it's not surprising. So the specific turntable I have here is in pretty good shape. When I bought it, it was completely intact. There was nothing missing. The plastic cover was complete. It's got some minor scratching on it. It's not too bad though, so I was pretty pleased with it. I remember even back then when I bought it. Other than that, the case is in great condition, minus just a couple little scratches in the front, but nothing major. It would have been nice if it was mint, but again, for as little as I paid for it, I was completely happy with it. This is a direct drive turntable. People have their opinions if they prefer belt driven or direct drive. I've never had it belt driven, so I can't compare. I will say that I do like the direct drive, especially the Technics ones, or any of them that's basically quartz based. What that means is there's a crystal in there that the turntable actually locks to. It's basically a simple phase lock loop like you see in a lot of frequency synthesizers. It maintains the rotational speed on the turntable to a very precise rate. Some people, I believe falsely complain that the turntable itself will vary frequency because the motor is constantly trying to speed up and slow down to maintain that exact speed, but from everything I've read, that's not the case. And from all the times I've listened to this turntable, I've never picked up any type of frequency variation on it. So the 1700 Mark II I have here is very similar to the famous 1200 Mark II that's been around, or various iterations of the 1200. It's been around for a very long time. That is a very expensive turntable. It's designed primarily for DJ use and live use, things like this, so it's very well built. Not that this one isn't. This is also a very well built table. It weighs roughly 22 pounds. It's very solid. The entire platter floats, the entire mechanism floats on here on shock mounts, which I've never had any issues with walking around the room or anything like that and picking up any type of vibrations in the turntable, and ever having any type of skip or the needle moving from one groove to another. So the design of it is very good. Now, the 1700 Mark II had a couple others in the same family that look almost identical. There was a 1600 Mark II, which was a actual fully automatic turntable. This is actually just a semi-automatic. That is, it has cueing and auto return, but it won't actually place the needle onto the grooves, onto the actual record itself. The 1600 did do that. And then there was also the SL-17 or the 1800 Mark II, which was a manual turntable. It didn't even have the cueing on there or the auto return. So there are two common problems that you'll find with most of the 1700s out there at some point. If you have a 1700 and it hasn't happened to you, it probably will, or it's already been fixed on your unit. The first is the cueing doesn't work. The cueing was what actually moves the needle up and down so you can place it onto the record and then drop it down gently. And then it's part of the auto return mechanism, so when the needle gets back to the center of the record, it'll automatically lift up and return. So if you leave the room, it's just not there spinning forever on the center of the record. The cueing system works by a small motor that has a belt that drives the actual mechanism that moves the entire head shell up and down, including the needle. When that goes bad, essentially your cueing switch or your cueing button will do nothing. Sometimes you might hear a little buzz as the motor tries to spin in there, but there's some type of circuitry inside this unit that detects that it's not working, therefore it doesn't move the motor anymore, which is the case on mine right now. I'm not even hearing anything. So that's a simple fix. I will go over that just so that you understand what it is in detail. There's not very much to it. The second problem that you have with these turntables has to do with the phase lock loop on the quartz lock. That is, you have a little dial here that is part of the pitch correction mechanism, and this is just a potentiometer on the main board that will get dirty. And when it gets dirty, it starts to jump around. So you'll start hearing some speed variations in the record while you're listening to it, which is quite annoying. And if you look close here as I move this, you can even see the pitch percentage light kind of jumps around quite a bit as I scroll. It shouldn't be doing that. It should be a nice linear movement from the +6 to -6 pitch correction on it. So the easy solution to fix this is simply clean that potentiometer. Now, about 10 years ago I did clean it because I had that problem previously, and it has resurfaced as of now. So I'm going to try cleaning it again and see if it will correct it. Now, if it doesn't correct it, the next solution is to replace that actual potentiometer. Potentiometers can only be cleaned so much. The metal swiper on the contact in there, after it moves so much, begins to actually wear the carbon contacts down inside it. So at some certain point, it will deteriorate, and cleaning them won't do anything because there's no more material on there for it to actually touch when you swipe it. And that's when you actually have to replace the potentiometer. So the repairs to this turntable are actually really easy. Getting inside is extremely easy. It's a very simple thing to do. I actually wasn't even bother putting this video together. I was just going to repair it because it's such a simple repair, but I'm down here, I've got the camera already, so I figured I might as well just make a video out of it, just so if anybody else has these problems, you can at least get an idea of how simple it is to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the clear plastic cover just to get it out of the way to make sure that I don't damage it. So I will set that aside. Next step is remove the rubber mat that actually sits on the aluminum turntable itself. And that's something else that's nice about the 1700 is that the turntable itself is cast aluminum. It's got some serious weight to it, and it's been machined afterwards, so it's very, very finely balanced. It's just a really nice piece of metal. But anyway, this will be the next thing we have to remove. To do that, you basically put your fingers in the two holes there and pull up. There'll be a little bit of resistance because the magnet that's actually underneath here has got a little bit of pull on the armatures down below. So just pull straight up on it and it will come right out. So I will set that aside as well. The next step is you got this plastic guard here above the electronics on the turntable, and we'll have to remove this to get down to the items of interest. That is the potentiometer, which sits right about here for the pitch control, and the motor that actually drives the cueing system sits right back here. So there's just a handful of screws that are holding this down, so I will remove those. This lifts out. Alright, I will move the camera so we can get a little bit closer look. So here's a close-up inside below where the platter sits, and the two items of interest are actually really easy to access. First being the potentiometer right here for the pitch control. Technics very nicely actually put an extender on it and put it right out here on this board, so it's really easy to access. Both for replacement if you do have to replace it, and for cleaning, so it's not buried underneath the front here or anything. Secondly, here is where the belt lives for the actual cueing system. So, and actually if you look, you can see the remnants of the rubber band I put on there probably 10 years ago when I previously had repaired it. So I didn't have a belt at the time, I didn't feel like ordering one, but I had a rubber band that worked. And it worked for about 9 or 10 years, so just for being a rubber band, I guess that was pretty good. Instead of just using a rubber band, the proper solution is to actually buy the proper belt, which I bought online. It was like $3, I think. So I will place that on there, and that will solve the cueing problem. I actually need to clean up the remnants of this rubber band. It's like some of it actually wrapped around the shaft of the motor there. Not a big deal. Get some tape and I'll clean that up. A little vacuum would be better, but this will work just for now. There's really not that much of it in there. Alright. Next is to install the new belt. There we go. Before we do anything else, I'll plug it back in. I'll actually just test the cueing. And it looks good. Drops it back down. Okay, so that's how you replace the belt for the cueing system when it fails. So, super simple. Next, we will tackle the potentiometer on the front. Before I go about cleaning it, I just wanted to show the erratic behavior of the actual pitch control moving in terms of actually the LED in the front here. I'm not sure if you could previously see it when I was showing it earlier, but you can see how it kind of just is jumping all over the place as I adjust the pitch up and down. So, I mean, I'd never touch the pitch control. I always just leave it in, at 0% basically. So, the problem is that as it sits here, and possibly some very, very small vibrations or something from the unit moving itself may just put a little bit of movement onto this, it will cause it to start drifting, and you'll start seeing the pitch, climbing up and down across the scale there, and it's audible. You can hear it, and that's why it's critical that I correct this, because when that starts happening, I'll have to come up here and I'll actually have to play with the pitch. Sometimes just moving it off a tiny little bit will correct it. Other times not, but either way, like I said, I've cleaned this before. We'll clean it again, and hopefully that will resolve. To clean this pot, I'm going to be using the MCL spray, the moving contact lubricant. This is actually designed for carbon-based controls, including potentiometers. Your typical deoxit, will work, and I've used it before, but this is actually designed for metal conductors. So I like the MCL for the carbon-based controls. The lubrication provides too gives them a little bit smoother feel. They feel a lot better after cleaning than deoxit does in this case. So. Technics has a little piece of mylar tape or Kapton tape or some type of tape over the pot here to keep dust out, which is a nice touch. But to get the lubricant in there, you actually need to pull this back and kind of push it back a little bit. Then you just need to give it a quick little spray and then cycle the pot, and it'll work itself around in there. So I usually like to give it 2 or 3 applications. So I'll give it a minute, let it dry, I'll do it again, and then we'll go from there. Give it a test. Just gonna try to clean up some of the residual spray that comes out when you do this. It's not gonna hurt anything, but I just like to be thorough. The lubricant on the board will attract dust and stuff too, so if you have any laying there, it's a good idea to get it up. A lot of it will evaporate, but whatever lubricant's in there will stick around a little bit. So, alright, let's give this a try. The bench lighting isn't the best here. I've got some glare across the front, but you can still see it alright. If I plug it back in. Alright. That looks better already. I'm not getting the jumpiness that I was previously. So I won't know until obviously I play it for a while and just make sure that it doesn't have its previous behavior, but that should do it. That's all I did last time. And last time I did it lasted 10 years, so we'll see if I get another 10 years out of it in this case. But that's all you have to do. So if you're having pitch problems, that's the first thing you need to try, is just cleaning that potentiometer. 9 times out of 10 that should resolve your issue. While we're in here looking around too, this Technics chip here, the AN6680, that's actually part of the quartz lock / phase lock loop circuitry. Here's your crystal too. That's actually part of this chip in terms of your oscillator for the speed control. So the circuitry in this area is what maintains your precise turntable speed. Reassembly is simple. It occurs the opposite of assembly. You drop your plastic piece here back inside, screw it in, and then your platter, you carefully just line it up and drop it in. For testing, I'm just going to leave the plastic off for now. There's no reason to put it on until I'm happy with everything and know that everything's good. Queuing. Works. Drop the unit down. I don't have a preamp down here, so I can't actually test the output from this. I'll do that when I go back upstairs, but everything seems to be fine in terms of queuing. So let's test the auto return. Oh, I actually enable the auto return. There's a button on the back here that actually turns the auto return on and off. I had it off because it won't work without the queuing. So, but it's auto returning right now. Alright, I think we're good. One other last little note about this turntable is a lot of times you'll get no audio output out of it, and that's due to the actual cable, the audio cable coming off the back. So I replaced the ends on here just with some cheap ones back when I bought it, because the ones that were on here were, I think one was crushed or damaged or something like that. So I've just got some cheapy ends on here, nothing special. But what will happen is the connection here on the back, that actually it's like a stress connection where this cable falls through the case. It's under a lot of stress there because it's kind of folded over and held in place with pressure from a complete piece of plastic. The cable will often fail there. Mine is actually intermittent right there, right now. I'm probably not going to replace it or fix it at this time just because it doesn't bother me that much. But if you do have a system or a turntable at 1700 for that matter, or any other ones of the Technics family where you're not getting any audio or only one channel works, not the other, wiggle that cable at the back right there. It may indicate the problems. You might start getting some audio back. At least that was the case for me. To temporarily fix it, what I did is I just actually moved the cable a little bit further into the case and got the pressure point off the point that was actually bending the cable there, and that resolved it for me. So it's not really a proper fix. I should still replace the whole cable with something higher quality, better RCAs in the end too, but it's fine for now. I will deal with that another day. Since I'm here, I'll just show what I'm talking about. On the back, you have your power input here on the left. On the right side, you've got actually your two audio outputs and your ground wire. Now, there's two screws in the bottom that hold this bracket in, which sits like this. And your cable is actually fed through, your audio cable is fed through here and then comes up the top. So it's pinched in place with this little plastic piece. And that puts quite a kink on these cables. And after years and years and years of it sitting like that, this is where they fail. So that kink will actually cause them either to open or short. I'm not sure which is which, but moving the cables inside, cutting them shorter to bypass the kink that was there, and then putting it back in this plastic holder at a new location further down the cable. It'll shorten your cable a little bit, but at least you'll solve the problem where they're no longer working. When I put this back in too, I didn't tighten it down quite as much as it was from the factory, just to try to relieve the pressure on these cables. But you can see even from sitting there after a while, you still end up with a cable that looks pretty damaged. So if I do this again, I'll probably loosen it even or tighten it even, less so, or come up with a different solution than this. I just don't really like that stress relief they have on there. It's not the greatest design. So there are your two most common failures and repairs for the Technics SL-1700 Mark II turntable. So I hope you enjoyed and found this useful, and thanks for watching.